Hey there, Alan Matthews here from Classical Guitar Shed. Please go over to Classical Guitar Shed when you are able. There are all sorts of tutorials and articles and lessons and videos on all things classical guitar and guitar technique, phrasing, expression, playing beautiful music, all things. So please go over there when you're able. In this video, I'd like to talk to you for just a moment about objectivity, subjectivity, how much is the score and the music written in the music, how important is that versus how much we do as the performer? How much leeway do we have as a performer with the music, and how much should we get out of the way and really just follow the rules on the page? This is a big question, and there are people really polarized on both sides of this. So you have people that say, I want to let the score speak for itself, and so I'm not going to do anything if it says loud, I'm just going to play a blanket loud. And you know, if it doesn't say to do something, I'm not doing it. I'm only doing what's on the score, every single thing, and that's it. So that's one side of the argument. The other side is, I will take these notes, and if I think that they're the right notes, then I'll play those. And if I think that those, the dynamic markings and the louds and softs and everything, if that's right, then I'll play it. But if not, then I can do anything I want, and the piece is now mine, and I'm using it as a template. But I don't have to pay attention to really anything on the page. I can change it as much as I want. And so it's just something, I can do whatever I want with it. So that's the opposite side of it. The truth is somewhere, in my opinion, somewhere in the middle of those two things. Now, first and foremost, there is the piece of music. You should notice what's on there and be able to play it like what's on the page to begin with. Start from there. So even if you have a great idea and you think it should be some other way, well, that might be so, but master it the way that it's on the page first. So if you know, with the notes that are on the page, with the phrasing marks that are on the page, do that first at the tempo that's on the page. So get that first and foremost, and then make your own adjustments to it. The music doesn't live without both. So it takes the performer to play the music. So you can't say that the music is all by itself and that the performer means nothing to it. Otherwise, you could just plug it into a computer and you would have the perfect rendition of it. And that's just not the case. We need the performer infusing their personality into it and their experience and their decisions into it to actually make it good. And so it is a combination. It's a teamwork effort between the composer and the performer. And you can't take one out of the picture completely. There are certain things that work musically and certain things that don't work musically. You know, some things are schmaltzy. And if it's not the moment for a schmaltzy, if the moment doesn't call for schmaltz, then putting schmaltz in there is not a good thing, and that's the performer overstepping their bounds and doing something that affects the music that is now making the music not true to the composer. So the ideal performance takes the intent of the composer based on everything we know about that composer, about the piece, about the musical period that it was written in, about all that, and say, okay, now what is the intended communication of this piece? And then how can I, as a performer, best communicate that? And so if it's this driving, triumphant thing, if that's the communication of the piece, then I can make subtle changes to the music as I deem fit, so long as it communicates the intent of the piece better. I can't change it. If it's written as a triumphant fanfare, then I can't make it into a funeral dirge and think that I'm actually respecting the piece. I can as a fun thing in my practice, but as far as performing the piece and actually giving it a kind of a legitimate performance, then that would be overstepping and just changing the whole nature of the piece. As long as the intent of the performer is matching the intent of the composer, then things can go well. We also just have the level of sophistication and abilities of the composer and of the performer. Sometimes composers are not the best performers, and because it takes a whole different skill set. To be a great performer takes a whole different skill set than being a composer. And so there are not many great composers that are also great performers. So as you get better as a performer, you may recognize this composer made some bad decisions as far as these ideas aren't the best ideas, and they just didn't know any better. And so maybe I can communicate the idea better by changing these things, because I actually am better at communicating these things than the composer was. But his idea is really solid, and so I'm going to take that. And so you can make these adjustments. The main thing is integrity of intention and knowing, having your goals in line as far as, I really want to, first and foremost, communicate something of value to the listener, because that's really what this is about. Otherwise, it's just this little masturbatory game between composer and performer, whereas really it's the person listening, even if that's also you as you listener as well as you performer, then even if it's that, it should ideally be a beautiful emotional experience, or an aggressive emotional experience. It should be an emotional experience and not just an intellectual game, when some music comes off very just intellectual and not very emotional. So it's something to think about anyway. Bottom line, communicate what the composer intends and keep that in mind, and let that base your decisions on that, and then also make your decisions for the understanding and the communication to the listener, and from the listener's point of view, making sure that they'll actually get what you are communicating. If I was speaking in Latin right now, you probably wouldn't understand it, and it doesn't matter what I intend because you wouldn't understand it. Ideally, that's first and foremost, does it make sense to the listener? All right, please go over to classicalguitarshed.com and find all kind of stuff, and I will talk to you in the near future. Bye. Hey, would you like to play more cleanly, with more speed and precision, with more beautiful phrasing, and know that you're actually coming forward and progressing in a logical way on your guitar? Well, if so, you might want to check out the Woodshed. The Woodshed is a full practice solution. You'll find a massive library of play-along practice videos. You get a clear step-by-step progression. There's a massive practice library there with videos that you actually play along with. So practice along videos, training your different areas of your technique so that you know that that's solid. You get all the courses on Classical Guitar Shed, free webcam check-ins and video reviews so that you always know that you're on track with personalized one-on-one feedback. And most of all, you get the peace of mind knowing that you are on a specific track that leads from here to there. If this sounds interesting to you, then you can find more information following the link in the description, or you can go to classicalguitarshed.com, click on the membership button right in the center of the menu, and you'll learn all about it. Take care.